The college football experience independence preview and picks for 2023 on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Brought to you by our very own Patreon. Yes, score exclusive perks, content and contests, including our NFL win totals contest with a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Parlay Play. Parlay Play is a lead pipe lock for parlay and player props. Go to parlayplay.io. Use the promo code SGP for 100% deposit bonus today. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Jim Mora, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo-wee. Welcome. Welcome to the college football experience. Give me independence, football, or give me death. I think Patty C might have said that once. Folks, perhaps you're wondering who the hell you're listening to. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. I would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Yes, give me independent football or give me death. Didn't Patrick Henry say that?
Something like that. Close enough.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. When I was in...
Is Patrick Henry the starting quarterback for UMass?
Perhaps. I think there's a strong chance he could be starting for UMass. But yeah, I mean, look, back in 4th and 5th grade, I remember talking UMass football with my teacher, you know. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for the DFS god himself. Come play college football DFS with us. We'll have a little episode out covering week 0, which will feature a couple independent teams there.
That's right.
Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lot giving farmer, earned the basketball league MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's up?
I mean, independent football. Chip Kelly said the other day, we should all go independent, not be affiliated with the conference. Not sure how much the Big Ten liked their new coach saying that. Saying we should all go independent and schedule who we want. Interesting thought.
It is interesting. And there might be a couple new independents if Cal and Stanford can't find a home.
Very true.
As well as possibly Oregon State, Washington State. Who knows?
I don't know if they have the cash to do that, but hey, I mean, the schedule, the season's, 2024 season is 12 months away, so they have their work cut out for them on figuring out a schedule. It's got to be crazy. It's got to be wild, and it's absolutely fucking disgusting that Oregon State, Washington State, Stanford, and Cal are put in this place, but we'll see what happens. We'll make the best of it here on the College Football Experience. Make sure you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience, as we break down all 133 teams on the College Football Experience with a solo podcast for each and every team in the land and every single conference. And if that's not enough for you, we also have the FCS College Football Experience where we're breaking down every conference as well. We got you covered here. But look, before we dive into talking about these only four remaining independent teams left, when we started watching college football, Penn State was an independent and a shit ton of other schools, Florida State. But before we, dive into all of that, I want to talk about the terrible, terrible thing that I hate every single August.
I think I know where you're going.
And that is preseason polls. I hate preseason polls They're all terrible. I don't believe we should have preseason polls. People say, but that's how you sell a game. That's how you sell LSU Florida State.
I mean, maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have these now. Absolutely none. Other than to prop up the schools with big names.
Yes. And that actually can play a role as the season goes. If you start off in the top 10 and you know, even if you suffer a loss, you don't drop that much. So it plays a big role, terribly, in my opinion. But the coaches poll, it's funny. First off, I pulled up. So the coaches poll came out. I pulled up last year's coaches poll where the number one team in the nation was Alabama. They didn't even make the CFP. No, but I did find it hilarious that they had Texas A&M in the top 7.
Yeah, why? Like, what did they do to earn that, right? Other than having a couple really good recruiting classes.
Nice 5-win season. They also had Oklahoma in the top 10. They had a losing season. Michigan State in the top 14. Nice losing season. I mean, Miami coming in the teens. Nice losing season. Just such a crock of shit. You know what I mean? There's no point in these things. And I just think it's a benefit. It helps the name brand schools. That's what I hate about it. It's like you're not coming in with a level playing field.
That's probably why they continue to do it, because I don't see any other reason. You don't need help selling LSU Florida State. That sells itself.
So, looking at 2023, now they have Georgia number 1, which is probably not a good thing for Georgia, considering that they were so wrong from a season ago. So I want to ask you, which teams – so wait, how many did I count with a losing record there in their top 20? Out of their first top 20, they had Miami, Michigan State, Oklahoma, A&M, 4 teams with a losing record. You also had some other teams that were just barely – like they had Wake Forest in the top. Shout out to them, honoring Wake Forest. I don't think Wisconsin had the greatest season ever either. But, okay, so there was 4 schools with a losing record a year ago. So now if we look at the top 20 here, so it's Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, USC, Penn State, Florida State, Clemson, Tennessee. That's the top 10.
Any teams there are which one of those 10 might go under 500?
I mean, the first one that jumps out would be Florida State.
That's what I was thinking too.
Or Tennessee,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I think everybody else is pretty damn safe. And I mean, things would have to go drastically wrong for the Seminoles or the Vols to go under 500. But I mean, if you have to pick somebody, I'd probably pick those 2.
Let me hit you with 11 to 20. So 11 Washington, 12 Texas, 13 Notre Dame, 14 Utah, 15 Oregon, 16 TCU, 17 Kansas State, 18 Oregon State, 19 Oklahoma, 20 North Carolina.
Okay, now there's some more possible chances. I would start with TCU.
I think I don't want to tip my hand here too much, but I wouldn't be shocked if Notre Dame had a 5-7 season.
Oh, man.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying
TCU went 5-7 2 years ago.
True.
And they lost everybody.
No, I agree with the TCU play.
And Oklahoma was under 500 last year, so they could certainly do the same thing.
And North Carolina, certainly.
And I was going to say UNC, the possibilities there as well.
What about Texas? I think you have to mention Texas. The fact that they've had like 6, 5, and 7 seasons, I feel like, in the past decade. Now, I know that they're supposed to be a lot better this year, but still, you can't tell me it's not possible.
I mean, I guess it's not possible, but I think they're one of the teams within this 10 to 20 range, which I think, I mean, it's not one of the ones that scream that, okay, things could go bad quickly and they could have an awful year. But hey, it's possible. I mean, is Texas back? That's the question.
I don't know. I'm reluctant to say that, but just to round off the top 25 at 21, Wisconsin, 22, Ole Miss, 23, Tulane, 24, Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, Joey McGuire, and 25, Texas A&M.
Honestly, I think all of those teams could be.
Not Tulane. Tulane will have a winning record.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if Pratt gets hurt or something, then maybe things could go south. But actually, they're probably the team I might feel more comfortable, especially playing in the AAC without Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF.
Ole Miss, I think, will have at least 500 because they have those 4 non-cons.
Yeah. I mean, I think all these will be above 500, but I'm just saying if you had to pick one or two.
Yeah. But surprisingly, like I said, last year they had 2 in the top 9 that
That's
had
crazy.
losing records.
That's wild.
So if you were to do that exercise with this, Tennessee's not an option. So you'd have to have Florida State, maybe Penn State. I don't know. I mean, we don't think Penn State's going to be like that, but I mean, Clemson maybe. I don't know, but either way, preseason polls suck ass, and they're phony. They're phony. But just thought we'd talk about them. I'm the ultimate contradiction because we're talking about it here.
You're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
So, I blame it on the producer Noah Beanick that said let's crowbar this in. I'm joking, Noah. Anyway, here we go. But let's talk about we got 4 here. We got 4 independent schools. The UMass Minutemen, the UConn Huskies. They play in the final game of the season, I believe, right? Or one of the final weeks of the season. They call it the Cum Bowl. I think it's better. All right. I think UConn and UMass might surprise some. Other independents, Army and Notre Dame. You can make a case Northeast football is independent football.
I was about to say, can we just call this the Northeast Conference?
Let's go. Finally, Notre Dame in a conference. What?
Just get like Villanova to come up and Holy Cross, a couple more, and you got yourself the Northeast Conference.
I like this idea. You grab Villanova, Holy Cross,
Maine,
New Hampshire's good. They've been like blue blood.
Yeah.
Delaware.
Okay. You're starting to come into the Mid-Atlantic, but I'll accept it.
And you go for Long Island or Stony Brook.
Duquesne.
Throw them in there. Duquesne and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
All right. Sign me up for this. I'm on board. Merrimack, they have a good program. They're in Boston. Let's go.
They play UMass this year too, so
watch out. By the way, we'll get to it. Let's get to it. The win total for the UMass Minutemen. Well, let me get paid first. Let's want to tell you folks out there that the college football experience independent preview for 2023 is brought to you by Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon. Sign up for the Patreon today to get access to exclusive contests, including the NFL win totals contest with a $1,000 first place prize. Besides season-long contests, they also have weekly contests just for the patrons, plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast, completely ad-free and full of behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN. There's even a Discord channel just for our patrons. Only you can prevent corporate gambling, so do your part and sign up today. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, we are back on the College Football Experience 2023 Independent Preview. And we're going to just open things up with a bang and talk about the Minutemen of UMass. The win total is sitting there at 2. And you're thinking, wow, 2, the McGurk. But don't forget, Don Brown is a well-experienced coach.
But don't forget, they haven't won multiple games since 2018. Can you believe that stat? They haven't won multiple games in 4 seasons. So they've either gone winless or 1 win.
I can believe that because when they hired Watt Bell, I was like, what are they doing? They fired what's his name? Who was doing Whipple, who was doing a damn good job. They almost knocked off, was it Florida or Tennessee? I forget.
Right.
I mean, that's football karma. That's the gods. But look, I mean, this is a team. I think if you are a UMass fan, the active, like how active they were in the transfer portal is huge to me.
Sure.
They went out and got some guys that I think they bring in the Georgia Tech transfer at the quarterback spot, Tayson. Oh man, Fomakakan, who used to be at Clemson.
Right,
he was a Clemson recruit.
Right.
They got Carlos Davis from Western Carolina with the Catamounts. What up, Weehawk? And Brady Olson. They have Brady Olson. So I mean, I think they're much deeper at the quarterback spot.
Olson was there last year.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm saying like
they bring him back.
Yeah, they have 3 guys. Yeah. So The running back spot, we need to see what's going to happen there because I see them leading with K-Ron Adams. But, dude, this team is just full of transfers. Last year, he added a bunch of transfers. This year, now they also had a couple of transfers leave that were very good players, like Oklahoma State and Michigan came in to take some of their better players. But Mark Pope comes in from Miami. I mean, he was a good wideout with the Hurricane. I remember playing him at DFS. Anthony Simpson comes in from Arizona. Like, they have guys penciled in through this roster all over. I mean, Tyler Rudolph at the safety spot from Penn State. Steven Ortiz from Minnesota. I mean, like, at the corner spot. They have guys. So I trust that the talent level is way higher than it was 2 years ago.
Sure. And even last year, the talent started to get better, but this was still a 1-11 team last year whose only win came over Stony Brook in a game where they were, out yardaged by about 70 yards. UMass didn't have a quarterback pass for over 100 yards till week 9.
Back, baby.
Don Brown came into a team that was at the bottom of the bottom, complete overhaul. If you're thinking positive, at least they were playing better ball the second half of the season. I mean, there were still some lopsided losses, like losing 44-7 against Army in the season finale.
But it was 10-3 in the fourth quarter against.
Yeah, and they lost on the road to Arkansas State by 2. They played Texas A&M fairly close, only lost 20-3 on the road.
It was 10-3 we were watching it here. 10-3. That was the JFK Bowl. It was 10-3 in the fourth quarter. And the coaches poll had Texas A&M number 5. My point exactly.
So they were playing better as the season progressed. So you hope that they can win more than a game this year.
Well, the win total is that too. So you hope they win more than 2 games.
If you're on the over.
And I am on the over with UMass.
You think so? Because my problem is, and we can go through the schedule here, but I only see maybe 3 winnable games.
Schedule is tough, but I think week 0 at New Mexico is winnable, even though I favor New Mexico State. That is New Mexico State and Jerry Kill.
I didn't even include this as a winnable because New Mexico State went bowling last year and it's on the road. And I think New Mexico State is 10-point favorites, 13-point favorites.
I'd have to pull it up.
I think it was 10. It was 10.
Look, I favor New Mexico State, but I'm saying it wouldn't shock me if UMass won at New Mexico State.
Well, as high as you are on the Aggies, you better hope New Mexico State beats UMass in the opener.
That is a lock of mine on the over, but even if they lose that game, they still will hit the over. Then they go take on Auburn week 1. I like the fact they get the week 0 game before they take on Hugh Strip Club Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. They're going to lose that, though, too, and they'll be 0-2, right? Circle this one, though. Circle this one. Miami, Ohio, the Redhawks come into the McGurk. Because let me tell you something. If Miami, Ohio was to pull the upset against Miami, Florida, which I actually think there's a chance week 1, talk about a great letdown spot, would be coming to the McGurk to take on UMass in their 3rd game of the season. Now, I still favor Miami, Ohio, and I will say 0-3. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty high on Miami of Ohio. They have, I think, 16 returning starters. They get Blaine Gabbert back from injury last year for his 5th year. Probably the best defense in the MAC. A bunch of offensive linemen returning. I don't think UMass is ready to win this game. Now, MAC schools are kind of fickle. The one up next is as well. So maybe there's a chance here, but I got to chalk it up as an 0-3 start.
So then they head to the factory in Ypsilanti, Michigan, to take on Eastern Michigan. Look, and I watched this game a year ago. UMass was up 13-0. And you're thinking, dude, they're going to do it. Michigan State scores 20 unanswered. I'm sorry. Eastern Michigan scores 20 unanswered, wins the game 20-13. But watch out. Watch out, because Chris Creighton, he plays close games. He doesn't just blow teams out by 40.
Last year was at Eastern Michigan, as is this year. I mean, come on. Why isn't Eastern Michigan going to UMass?
It's a good point. So 0-4, right?
Yep.
This is it right here. Danny Gonzalez, cross country. I get it. Brian Vincent, the OC, brings in Dylan Hopkins, but they have just a couple returning starters. I'll say this: between Miami, Ohio, Eastern Michigan, and New Mexico, they're getting one win.
I was going to say the next one, this is a little bit of a homestand here, is Arkansas State. I was saying between New Mexico and Arkansas State, they get one.
Oh, I was going to say they get two there.
No. I have them entering October.
I have them favored against Arkansas State.
Yeah.
So
no, through the first half of the season, I have them at 1-5. It sounds like you're at 2-4 and pushing already, huh?
Pushing already. Now the Toledo Rockets come to town. That might be an ass whooping.
Yeah.
So 2-5. Then at Penn State, watch out, Nittany Lions. Yeah, that's good. I actually think this is your stretch. You get a bye week on October 21st. I kind of like this stretch right here. At Army. Remember, Army can no longer run the triple option.
True.
They're doing the shotgun. I think this is a winnable game.
I mentioned Army beat them 44-7 the last time UMass took the field. At UMass.
But guess what they didn't have? They didn't have that bye week before.
True. It helps.
I think it's a winnable game, man. And I can tell you this. Merrimack, who's definitely good in the FCS, watch out. Because, look, last year they beat Stony Brook 20-3. Stony Brook was ass. Merrimack's actually good. Like, Merrimack can win that game.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to go 1-1 there. Maybe,
I have UMass beating Merrimack, so I'm at 2 now. You're at 4?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, no. I've said best case scenario 4.
Okay.
I got them at 3.
Okay.
I think they're a 3-9 football team. But then they get another bye because they play the week 0 game. Then they head to Liberty to take on the Flamin' Libs. And then you got the UConn game. UConn, UMass, final week of the season. The way it should be, folks. UMass leads that all-time series 38-36.
UMass won a couple years ago, though.
Well, I got this team as a 3-9 team. I do think they're going to be a lot more competitive this year.
Yeah, I mean, that started to happen second half of last year. I have them at 2-10. The question is, I do think they're not going to just win one game this year. They're going to win at least 2. So originally I was thinking it was a higher likelihood to be under than over, but I don't see them only winning 1. And therefore, maybe they get lucky in one other game and hit 3. You've kind of talked me into an over here.
Yes. And for program trajectory, I have them on the up.
For sure. Yeah, I think they have the right guy for the job in his second term.
Well, you have it as steady on the sheet here.
Well, that sheet was done about a week ago, buddy. They are on the up.
Change in a week.
Yes. Talk to some of those Pac-12 teams. A lot can change in a week, and I'm going to change it to up.
All righty. Now let's go on over to the rivals. Jim Mora, friend of the program, and the UConn Huskies, buddy, with a win total of 5. That's just insulting to me. Without even diving in, this might be on the locks episode.
They went 6-6 in Jim Mora's first year
with their 4-star starting quarterback,
right? And they had wins over good teams like Fresno, Boston College, and Liberty. I mean, I don't know if Boston College classified as a good team last year, but still, I mean, Power 5.
They paid him a lot of money, yeah.
Right.
So, and I don't know if you know this. Do you know who their starting quarterback is?
Is it going to be Fagano from Maine, the former Black Bear, or is it going to be Roberson?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be Roberson, but Joe Fagnano does transfer in from Maine, one of the great names of FCS quarterbacks. Either way, I know they lose Nathan Carter to Michigan State at the running back spot, but Brian Bruton played solid. They also have Devontae Houston. They bring in Jalen Mitchell from Louisville. I like this team. I mean, I think they're going to be a lot better. You look at the fact that they returned 17 starters from a year ago.
4 or 5 on the offensive line also.
Oh,
now, when I first saw 5, like you, I was, man, what? Excuse me? Smashed it over. Schedule's tricky.
Schedule is tricky. Let's get to it because week 1 at the Wrench. Remember, they got this UConn National Championship basketball money and maybe some Big 12 money coming in the future. NC State's coming into the Wrench. This is a dangerous game for NC State, in my opinion. It's a dangerous game. Fagnano against Armstrong. Buddy, I'm taking NC State, but I actually have NC State like Notre Dame's on deck for NC State, so it's a classic look ahead.
Yeah.
Just saying, tread lightly, Wolfpack fans. But I'll say 0-1. How about yourself?
Well, there's two ACC teams who go up to the wrench because the ACC is foolish like the Pac-12 was. You know, why are they playing at UConn? I have no idea. If you want to play at UConn, invite them into your damn conference, okay? They're probably deserving.
Yeah.
And I think those games, I'm a little worried about those games for both NC State and Duke. But ultimately, I think they both get the W there and probably closer than expected wins.
Yes. Then UConn heads to Georgia State in Atlanta, week 2. I favor UConn here. Now, could they lose this game? 100%. But I would, if I'm setting this line, I would say UConn -3.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough game. Georgia State, it's not like it's a hostile environment or anything. I think UConn's going to win I mean, what do you think of their first 4 games? So it's NC State, Georgia State, FIU, and Duke. I mean, I think I had them at 1-3, but 2-2 is certainly possible.
Really, I have them at 2-2, but I just think they'll be favored against Georgia State and the airport. I'll be honest, it wouldn't even shock me if they knocked off NC State or Duke, but because they're both at home. But
I'm going to go conservative and say 1-3, but I do have them beating Utah State at home in the next game.
Me too. That's their 3rd win for me. And then they head down to Houston to take on the Rice Owls, who
also went bowling last year, right?
Yeah, they went bowling too. But I actually think that game is such a 50-50 game. They kind of remind me of each other.
I think the home game at South Florida is 50-50 also. So I'm going to split those games, and I'm going to have UConn at 3 wins after that.
I have them beating Georgia State, Florida International, Utah State, and I'll be honest, I think they're better than Rice in South Florida.
Yeah. So,
I mean, the fact that South Florida has to come to the wrench, I'll put them at 5 wins.
Okay.
Now at Boston College, they did smack Boston College a year ago, held them to 3 points, right? I mean, I guess I'd favor Boston College there.
Yeah, so here we have a tough stretch of 3 straight road trips at BC, at Tennessee, at JMU. I think this is a 3-game slide. I think they lose all 3 of them.
They could beat Boston College. I mean, they did last year. So, I'll join you on it, but wouldn't shock me. Then they're home to Sacred Heart. They will beat Sacred Heart, and they will beat UMass. So,
nice way to end the season with 2, pretty easy games.
Buddy, I think this is like worst case scenario, 5 wins.
I was pretty damn conservative there, and I had them at 5-7, which is right on the number. That you get one more of those between, Georgia. I had them losing to Georgia State, FIU, Rice, Boston College.
FIU?
Well, either them or Georgia State. No. So yeah, I had them at 1-3 in the first 4. So just win one more of those. So I'm on the over.
I'll lock this.
I feel like we have to lock something between these 4. So you know what? I'll go with you. Give me the over. Lock it up. They're not going to. I mean, the program is headed in the right direction. They're not going to take a step back and lose one last game.
100%. And on the spreadsheet, what is your UMass thing with an I there? That's an over, right?
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's an autocorrect.
Yeah. I am locking up, and I actually think. Look, I think worst case scenario is 5 wins, right? I actually think they could win like 7 or 8.
8.
I can build a case for 8. You want
build a case, please.
Okay, ready? They pull an upset against either NC State or Duke, right? They're both at the wrench, right? They beat Boston College a year ago. So NC State or Duke, 1 win, right? Georgia State 2, Florida International 3, Utah State 4, Rice 5, South Florida 6, right? 7 Sacred Heart, 8 UMass. And I'll even say this. That's without me giving them Boston College. Take away NC State and Duke and give them the Boston College win. That's 8 wins.
I mean, this is the same team that, actually their losses last year, Utah State on the road, Syracuse, at Michigan, at NC State. NC State beat them 41-10 last year.
Yeah.
They lost to Ball State. That was their worst loss. So Ball State was still solid. I mean, yeah, Carson, Lexington, and Steele, pounding the ball through the middle there. And then they lost to Army 34-17. Not a great loss, but, and then Marshall in the bowl game. So really, not any bad losses.
Dude, they passed the eye test when you watched them.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, this team's good. So
let's go over.
Let's go. Lock it up. All right, folks. Look, before we get to the next team, I want to tell you that the college football experience independence preview for 2023. Yeah, and Noah's right in the chat there. Utah State loss was because of the QB injury. I agree. It looked like UConn was about to pull off the upset against Utah State before Roberson went down. But folks, I want to tell you, we're brought to you by Parlay Play. Yes. Look, Parlay Play is a great way to get down on your favorite parlay player props. Football season is right around the corner, and Parlay Play will have all of your favorite props. Parlay Play is available in a ton of different states, including California and Texas. Plus, our friends up north, our good friends up north in Canada. Guess what? Parlay Play is available in a bunch of different provinces, so check it out. When you sign up, make sure you use our sweet bonus to get you started. I've mentioned this already. A parlay that I like is the over on the the San Jose State USC game, week 0. I think it's at 63.5 or 64, depending on where you go for your book. I also like Rich Rodriguez and Jacksonville State to beat UTEP in their first ever game in the FBS, week 0. So that is a parlay I like. Head over to parlayplay.io. Use that promo code SGP for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Once again, that's parlayplay.io. Promo code SGP. All right, we are back on the college football experience independence preview. You got to love the independents. Shout out to the chat. They're rolling along. Frozo's asking if Navy can keep up with the new air attack of South Florida, though. Navy, though, that you're talking AAC football, buddy.
That's right.
That preview will be coming. But let's hop on over now and talk about the Army Black Knights, because this is one of college football's mystery teams to me. Obviously, the rule changes. I think, I've had an opportunity to ask Troy Calhoun, this Air Force's coach, and, he did not seem very bullish on his team based on the rule changes. And I wonder if Monken feels the same way. I didn't get a chance to ask Jeff Monken.
Hard to gauge Army this year because of that. Is it going to have, a major effect, or will it just be another minor hurdle to overcome? Adapt and overcome. I think that's the Marines motto, but, Black Knights, close enough.
Yeah, they're bringing in, I think it was Nebraska Kearney's offensive coordinator from like D2 that runs basically the Kennesaw State version of the option. So they're going to be going shotgun option, which is still in a way triple option. Think Jamie Chadwell. Man, I love the fact they returned Tyrell Robinson. I like Jacoby Buchanan coming back, Tyson Riley. Like, if they were just running the option, I would be like, oh, this team's going to win 9 games. But do the Marines have a football team? I don't think so. We need to get that.
That would be pretty cool. Well, they won 9 games in 2021 and 2020. They won 11 games back in 18.
Yeah, and look, last year they lost to Troy by a point. They lost to Air Force by 6. They were in some of those games. Coastal Carolina by 10, UTSA in overtime by 3. They were probably a little bit better than what we, would deem
their
them.
6-6 record. But, let's take a closer examination at who they beat last year. Granted, they were very close against some good teams, but they beat Villanova, Colgate, ULM, UMass, UConn, and Navy. So they only beat one team that went bowling, and that was UConn.
Yeah.
So not the best wins on your 2022 schedule for Army. So I think we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at this year.
Yeah, and look, they opened the season on the road at ULM. This is a game that, Marines football is D3. Okay, there you go, Frozo.
Sweet.
Check them out. Shout out to them. The ULM game, I think, is a true 50-50 game. I think when we did the ULM preview, we leaned ULM.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Good about that.
No.
But especially knowing that they beat the shit out of ULM a year ago. But I just don't know what to expect out of them out of the gun.
Right.
So
And it's not great that, a team with it's, bringing in a new offense, a new OC, and you have 3 of your first 4 games are on the road. And if you go, at UTSA, at Syracuse, those are tough games. So I don't have Army starting off the season very well. I give them Delaware State in week 2, and I think they lose all 3 of those road games. So they're 1-3.
The ULM game, they could be 2-2.
Of course.
Could be 2-2 there. So yeah, then they get the bye week on September 30th. Then they're home to Boston College, who they beat the last time Boston College went to West Point. Home to Troy, at LSU, home to UMass. Let's talk about that 4 games gap right there.
I kind of want to give them 2. I mean, they're going to beat UMass, I think. No guarantee. I kind of want to give them 1 more between the home games with Boston College and Troy. They'll surprise somebody somewhere.
I'm not.
No. Wow. So you have them at 2-6.
I just think the other teams are better right now.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're thinking under, huh?
I am. Well, look, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say they beat Boston College again.
Okay.
Right?
3-5.
Then they play Air Force in Denver. I think Air Force is better than them.
I think so.
Especially it's in Denver. If it was in, Foxborough or something, I would maybe. But then what are they doing with this one? They're going to lose to Holy Cross. You realize Holy Cross is better than them.
I realize. I know Holy Cross is good, but are you that sure that they're better than Army?
Yeah, I think I am. Matthew Saluka, dude, South Dakota State won the FCS National Championship. The team that played them the best was Holy Cross, not North Dakota State, right? I think Holy Cross is a better team right now. I'm taking Holy Cross to win that game.
I'll give Army this one.
Really? I don't know.
And I think Army wins at least one of the Coastal Carolina and the Navy game to finish things up.
Holy Cross is preseason number 4 in the FCS.
Okay.
That's a bold take. If you were to throw
Army beating Holy Cross is a bold take.
I think to just say they got this one. I think it's insane. I think it's insane to assume that. But I'm taking Holy Cross, dude.
Okay.
Then they're hosting Coastal Carolina. I'll say this: they get Coastal.
All right.
They got to go up to the cold.
Yeah.
All right. So that could be and that's with me giving them BC. That would be Delaware State, BC, UMass, Coastal. That's 4. What's the win total? 6.
Yeah.
They're not hitting this.
Dude, they could win 4 out of their last 5, and then you add Delaware State, and one other one would be 6. I think the best case scenario is 6-6, and it could be worse. It could be a couple games worse. So I think you have to go under.
We're giving them BC. You're giving them the Holy Cross.
Well, so say they start off 2-0. If they beat ULM, they're in a decent spot. To steal one of those BC Troy games, that's 3. UMass 4, Holy Cross 5, Coastal Carolina 6, Navy 7. There's a path. There's a path for an over.
You just gave them every 50-50 game. Sure. You know what I mean? I don't even think Troy and Boston College are technically a 50-50 game, especially with the rule changes.
There's a path for an over, but I think with those rule changes, there's too many questions and you have to go under. You gonna lock it?
I am locking up the Army. I mean, look, I'm sorry, Army. I love you, Jeff Monken.
This is a total Benedict right here. I mean, Army, you love triple option football. You love the service academies.
And our country.
And you're stabbing them in the back.
Our country is making terrible decisions by ruining the option, the cut block rule. I'm sorry, Jeff Monken, because you deserve better. Talked to Randy Cross the other day.
I thought you were about to say the country's making horrible decisions sending these men overseas into foreign wars, but no.
No. It is
cut
all
blocking.
But no, look, dude, I was talking to Randy Cross about this, former offensive lineman, right? And he thinks it's all bullshit. He thinks that rule is bullshit too. He goes, dude, they make this up. They have yet to show any data. And he took the Troy Calhoun route too. He said, if anything, I think they're making the game more unsafe by you're going to be going high more, so more shots to the head and neck area.
Wasn't it Saban that was complaining about triple option football last year?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Might have been 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But either way, buddy, I'm locking up. You're not locking it up on this one?
No, I don't think so.
Wow. Lame. Now, let's talk about the final independent school, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Sam Hartman, 39 years old, coming in to Notre Dame. Obviously, Tommy Rees, he committed to Notre Dame with Tommy Rees, gets to South Bend, and then Tommy Rees says, you know what? I'm out of here. Going to Alabama and Saban. So they thought they were going to get Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator of Utah. Didn't happen. And now Gerard Parker, who was the tight end coach, is going to be the new offensive coordinator.
What do you think of Marcus Freeman's first year?
Hard to explain losses to Marshall and Stanford, but they did get better as the season went along. So
8-4 with the win over South Carolina in the Gator Bowl. It's a solid first year.
Yeah. I mean, there was some starts like losing to Marshall and Stanford's tough. They almost lost to Cal too.
At least Marshall was a good team too. The Stanford loss at home.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Is wild. But the offensive line might be one of the best in the nation. Right?
Per the usual.
Yes, per the usual. And then the Sam Hartman and then Audric Estime. That guy's a fucking beast. They also brought in Devin Ford from Penn State, and they have Price also. And that moves Chris Tyree to the slot back. I know Phil Steele, when we had him on the show, go listen to our Phil Steele episode. Very high on the Irish. But I still worry about the wide receiver position. Like, you can bring in, I worry about this. I worry that you bring in Sam Hartman, and he's thinking, I'm going to be able to run this one offense with Tommy Rees. Then he leaves, and then they don't get Andy Ludwig. He turns down the job, which tells me that something's weird. They didn't want this offensive coordinator, but yet he's now the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about that. I also am concerned about Sam Hartman without the slow mesh, because I do believe Wake Forest, they're quarterback proof. If you listen to Clausen, he's perfectly happy with Griffiths, and they were fine with Newman before that. So
Sam Hartman's like 28. This is like year 6 or something for him. He's so experienced. I think he's going to be just fine.
Oh, he's definitely an upgrade at the quarterback spot for Notre Dame.
Right.
But
you're right. The receiving group is probably their worst unit on offense and defense.
Wake Forest wideouts are way better than Notre Dame wideouts.
Yeah.
But he will have a great offensive line behind him. That is
right.
good. The defense, love the secondary. I think it's one of the best secondaries. But the defensive line might not be as good as it's been recently. Linebacking core should be pretty good with Kaiser and Bertrand.
Yep.
Shout out to Lane Elliott in the chat. But buddy, the win total sitting at 9. We know they get the Duke basketball treatment. You know what I mean? The Dallas Cowboy treatment. Let's talk about this, because Notre Dame's schedule a lot harder than I think for most years for them. Right?
Yeah, and also, I mean, the 9 overs plus 145, the unders minus 170, which tells you that I think most people might lean under when they see that 9. But yeah, let's look at the schedule.
Well, in 2 weeks, they're off to Ireland. I'm your leprechaun to take on the midshipman and Brian Newberry. It's funny, Randy. I was talking to Randy Cross about this. He said, "Take the points in Navy. Take the points in Navy." Somewhat. He said it'll be close for a little bit, and then Notre Dame will open it up in the.
I think the spread is it at 20, somewhere around there?
Yeah. Okay, 1-0, right?
Yeah.
Then Eddie George and Tennessee State out of the Ohio Valley Conference coming in, the OVC/Big South coming in, first FCS ever playing 2-0. And now is where it gets tricky, because they head down to Raleigh, North Carolina. Carter Finley, a little Brennan Armstrong against Sam Hartman. By the way, Hartman hasn't had great success at Carter Finley. Give me NC State upset special, because Notre Dame, this place is going to be lit. This is their first real road test. That's what stands out to me, too, is the road schedule here.
Road schedule's tough.
You're playing 4 teams with a winning record on the road a year ago, and the 5th one is at Stanford, who beat you a year ago. So
I'm with you. Give me NC State in this.
So 2-1. Then they're home to Central Michigan. Fire up chips. They'll beat Central Michigan, right?
3-1.
3-1. Then they're home to Ohio State. And I know Phil Steele said, look, the spread's at 7. He has it at a pick.
Yeah.
I don't. I have Ohio State minus probably, I would say, give me Ohio State minus like 4.
We're thinking too much alike so far. I got to go Buckeyes here also.
So that's lost 2. Then they head to Durham, North Carolina, to take on Mike Elko, the former defensive coordinator of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish a couple years back. This is a tricky game, man.
Oh, especially so this is at Duke, at Louisville, back-to-back weeks.
They're losing one of those.
I'm gonna give them both actually, but I damn sure don't feel good about it.
All right, I'm gonna play devil's advocate and meet you in the middle there, but I would be like, those are 2 good teams. They're home to USC. No, they're losing one of those 3.
Yeah, one of those 3 they're definitely dropping, and so
that would put them at 9.
That's right.
Then they get a bye week, and they're home to Pitt, the Jerkovic Bowl.
That's right.
Jerkovic has been outspoken about how he did not like his time in South Bend.
I'm still going to give it to the Irish there, though. But it's like a 55-45 game.
Pitt plays their style of ball, dude.
Right?
Like, this is the one that I don't know, man. I feel like Pitt can bang with them. Like, you know how you're like, Notre Dame's offensive line should be able to destroy a lot. Like, when they play Duke and Louisville, you're like, man, Notre Dame's offensive line probably can have their way.
Right.
Not against Pitt. Against Pitt, you're like, no, this might be very interesting. And it's in South Bend. Okay, I'll even say this is a win against Pitt, but I don't feel great about this one.
Agreed.
At Clemson, loss. They could lose both of those, dude. They have week 0 though, so they do get 2 bye weeks. So they get the bye week before Pitt. That might help. Then they get a second bye week after Clemson, and before they host Wake Forest in the Hartman Bowl. Senior night in South Bend is senior night for Wake Forest and their guy Sam Hartman.
I think Notre Dame ends strong. They beat Wake and they beat Stanford, and they go 8-4. And I'm on the under. Looking at their schedule, first off, are you agreeing with me? 8-4.
Yes. And I actually think this is somewhat lockable.
I mean, there's at least 7 games they could lose. Obviously, they're not going to lose all 7 of them.
True, but look, we mentioned the team with the losing record that I don't think they'll have a losing record. But if there was one, I think the schedule is really hard. They could lose to NC State. They could lose Ohio State, Duke, Louisville. That's 4, USC 5, Pitt 6, Clemson 7. I would even argue they're not going to lose all of them. But I would say, dude, Wake Forest is still solid. Now, I worry about the line of scrimmage in the Notre Dame game, but it wouldn't shock me if Stanford can go into South Bend and win, then fucking Wake Forest can go to South Bend and win.
I gotta lock this up, man. I gotta lock it up.
Yeah,
this is not a 10-2 team with that schedule.
I agree. I will join you. We are locking up the under on Notre Dame and 9 wins. 3 locks out of 4 teams.
Not too bad.
I love this independent conference. All right.
Only 2 locks for me.
Let's talk about the trajectory of these programs. Notre Dame, steady?
For now, because I think Freeman's doing a good job bringing in talent. His first year has to be deemed somewhat of a success, 8-4, or finishing 9-4. So I'm going to say steady right now.
I put so let's talk about UConn. I put them as up because Jim Mora seems to be in the
for sure.
He could be in a Power 5 conference very soon.
I don't know. That talk has seemed to cool down now.
Yeah, true.
Unless the ACC surprises us.
I guarantee you this: if he wins 8 this year, the Big 12 might say, "Hey, Army." I put us down because of the rule changes.
Fair enough.
Okay, folks, that's our show. Should we? Who do we have in the independent championship?
UConn versus Notre Dame.
Lane Elliott in the chat says, biggest question I have for the Service Academy is how the blocking will affect the totals.
Yeah.
No more auto underplays. That's something I'll have to monitor this season. This is a good question for you, Nick, as we go out on this.
Okay.
The clock, we have a running clock this year in college football.
That's right.
They're talking about shaving 20 minutes off a game.
Thank you. Yes.
I disagree with your I want more football. I would like it, to run 5 hours for these games. But I'll say this, buddy. Do you think there'll be more upsets because of 20 minutes off the clock? Take for example, perhaps that Notre Dame Navy game where, maybe Randy Cross is right, and in the fourth they will traditionally open it up. Actually, that was a 1-score game a year ago, but if there's less plays,
right, you kind of shorten the game, keep it close, and see which way the ball bounces towards the end. You might be onto something. I mean, originally I didn't think this was going to affect things that much, but especially when you get like a run heavy team like an Army or a Navy, so at least this is one rule change in their favor, and they have one rule change not in their favor. Maybe it's a wash.
Perhaps. I mean, but in general, just the whole college football landscape, you think like I don't know, just talking random games, you're like, wait, will we see more upsets because 20 minutes off of a football game?
Yeah, you would think, the longer the game, the more time for the cream to rise to the top.
Depth also,
Sure.
Take Tulane at Oklahoma a few years ago. They were beating them in the fourth quarter. Oklahoma comes storming back, and it looked like Tulane was getting a little tired.
Yeah.
Like, if you're shaving 20 minutes off a game,
that's true.
Might help the teams that don't have as much depth.
I did not think about that. We'll have to take a look in week 0.
Yeah, folks, something to ponder. Cannot wait we're breaking down all 133 teams. Solo podcast for each and every single team in the land. All right. So in case you want more UConn, more UMass, more Notre Dame, it's going to be out there. College football experience on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you hear podcast. Yeah, I mean, we're just getting started, folks. Week 0 is coming right around the corner. You like UMass and the points against New Mexico State, Nick?
No. I think it's a long road trip to start things off. I think New Mexico State's going to win by about 10 or so. They're going to cover that.
Yeah, fair. I think I agree. But folks, look, we got you covered. We're going to have week 0 stuff. I host the FCS College Football Experience. Maybe you're a Holy Cross fan that's tuning in. Maybe you're a Merrimack fan saying, we're going to fucking beat UMass this year. Or maybe you're an Eddie George, Tennessee State guy saying, give us a chance, Notre Dame. Look, I host the FCS College Football Experience. Make sure you subscribe there. sg.pn/FCS. But you can find that wherever podcasts are found. We also host the College Basketball Experience. UConn fans, when the season tips, I'm here every single night of the season. Actually, let's talk a little bit about that, NC Nick. UMass Frank Martin, year 2. You got UConn, 5th national championship in 25 years. You got Notre Dame hiring Micah Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
And Army is Army.
Army's not an independent in basketball. Actually, none of the schools are independent in basketball. Yeah, that's right.
But look, when the basketball season tips, you'll hear me each and every single night of the season. We're gonna have some preseason episodes. We already did a couple off-season episodes. Subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. Also, check out the College Baseball Experience. I love that Army college baseball team. All right, let's go. Me and Noah Beanick doing the Lord's work there on the College Baseball Experience. Also, check out the Big 12 Experience if you're Big 12 fan. We have a solo podcast now covering the Big 12. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. So you definitely want to be subscribed there. If you can, please hop on over. Yes, Army does dominate the Patriot League in baseball. If you can, though, hop on over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. All right. It's 5-star season, guys. All right. We've been grinding hard for you guys. The least you can do is get on over there and give us a 5-star review and help us out a little bit. That sponsors look at that shit, let's go, folks. Also check out the SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. You'll get access to all of our episodes, our articles, a lot of great college football content coming out over there. So check that out, and check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as they break down all 32 NFL teams. And our Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon. Yeah, hop in there. Here's some stories. Patty C will tell you about the time he broke both of his hands. All right, within 15 minutes. Anyway, we got you covered with all that. And what else do we got? Discord. Come talk ball with us. Week 0 is gonna be a lot of fun in the Discord. We're talking DFS, all this good stuff. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. All right, until next time. This is the College Football Experience Independent Preview for 2023. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.